Podcasts proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us. Brought to you by kingofamazon.com. Go to kingofamazon.com when you do your shopping for Amazon to help the King of Podcasts. Shop for Amazon at kingofamazon.com.
Welcome to a special Wrestling is Real Saturday night. It is episode 553 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. Thanks for joining us here on the program. Appreciate all of you being here with me. And here we are. Once again, a very interesting night of programming because, first of all, we did have NXT TakeOver 30 coming on tonight and AEW Dynamite, their normal Wednesday night edition, which had to be pushed back to Saturday night in favor of the NBA playoffs. Now, here's the thing. Because of the NBA playoff game between the Heat and the Pacers, game 3 of their NBA first round matchup, or Eastern Conference first round matchup, quarterfinals. Well, what happened was that the game ran late. The cutoff, the actual time window that they had for TNT was 6:15, but because of what happened, the game eventually finished a little after 6:30, 6:35. So with everything going on, between 6:35, 6:45, it was actually about 6:40, about 20 till 7. Basically put them right into the middle of TakeOver as it was, because TakeOver already had started putting on matches. The pre-show had already started right as Dynamite went on the air. And so I want to see what Dynamite's going to be able to do when they didn't have any chance to have any unopposed time going up against TakeOver. So really, you're going to get a good gauge as to what Dynamite's able to do, what AEW is able to do with their following of an audience. I would imagine if they're able to pull 500,000 viewers, or maybe 600,000, I think that's a success. If they're able to pull that many people over, it's just in the same way that NXT needed to pull a good number unopposed. 850,000, that's a pretty respectable number for what it's worth. That worked out. And so for them, if that's going to help people go ahead and, get more of a look into NXT going forward, that helps the company. And as for the Thunderdome broadcast of SmackDown on Friday night, that got up over to 2.153 million, I think it was. So they definitely got a bump for that. Thunderdome got people's interest. Will it stay above 2 million viewers? That's remained to be seen. Again, it's what they do at SummerSlam that's really going to make the biggest difference. So we'll wait to see where they go there. But I'll tell you, good night of wrestling, all in all, because even though maybe Dynamite might not have put out a hot shot book card, they put a very solid card out, as good as their normal shows are, and they definitely left some things out there for their all-out pay-per-view coming up in a couple weeks. Definitely are building up to that, and had some really good building up to that tonight. But I'm going to bring it up later on because we got to talk about TakeOver first. So NXT does it. It was quite good, pretty good tonight. First off, in the matches that we had, you had Breezango. This is a little disappointing to see Breezango still being given some relevance in NXT. It's amazing where these guys have come through, right? I'm just thinking about when you look at how long Fandango's been together. Like, again, it's been around for a long ass time, right? And I don't know what to think about this. I mean, first of all, Fandango, okay, the character, he's been around since, he's 39 years old, nearing 40. Remember as Johnny Curtis at NXT. And that goes back to 2010, right? So, Johnny Curtis, a.k.a. Fandango, 10 years in the company, right? And then you're going along, and then you're seeing where the Fandango thing was in 2013. So, it's amazing where I feel like Fandango's like the new Jimmy Wang Yang of this company because he's been around for so long. So him and Tyler Breeze, Mike Dalton, and just to see these two continue to stay together, it's incredible. Because again, these are decade-long guys. Actually, Matt Clement is his real name, but he's had a couple other names. It was actually Mike Dalton in SCW. But again, it goes back to him. He's 32, But again, these guys are decade-long wrestlers. It's incredible how long they've been around. They're still here. So they just linger around at NXT. Nice for them, but again, they're taking spots away from some of the younger stars. Because in this match, I think it would have been much more important to have the Mafia, Joaquin, Wilde, Raul, Mendoza, win that number one contenders match. To see Breezango or the Fashion Police come in here and take the spot. And they also beat only Lorcan and Danny Burch. But again, Legado de Fantasma, that Mafia group, that should have been the ones to get, because I think that's a good gimmick that could run a little bit forward. You could do some things with that. But they don't want to do it for whatever reason. I didn't like the look of that. Now, Finn Bálor, Timothy Thatcher, this would be a match that would never work on the main roster. It could only work at NXT, and I think even at NXT, they've done it, and I don't know if people have really gotten into it too much. Like we've seen, when we saw Pete Dunne and Walter wrestle at a takeover, remember that? I just think that the audience, a purist wrestling fan will enjoy it. Like those that would watch maybe like a New Japan or watch, World of Sport in the UK. So if you're like a good UK, European-based match, sure. But I don't know if there's much of a crowd for that. But these guys put out a pretty good match together. Long match, as a matter of fact, as well. But, I mean, for me, it was just a matter of, I don't know if that particular match stands out good enough that people are going to be caring about. But again, I don't like how NXT has so many stars that have just kind of just lingered around. Finn Bálor wanted to work back at NXT, and now he's here. I just feel like Finn Bálor just gets a little underused now. I mean, he's working with Timothy Thatcher, probably somebody he's probably worked with in the past, and Timothy Thatcher is an old hand and has worked around a lot of places. But, for me here, it was just kind of it was a good match, but I'll tell you, I just feel like there's nothing there that appeals to the kind of audience that WWE offers. When you look at Finn Bálor, I mean, he gives great matches, but again, there's only a spot for a couple of technical wrestlers. That's it. And when I think of technical wrestlers now on the main roster, I think of Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, pretty much. I mean, those are the ones significant. Of course, there's others. But I'm just saying, if you want technical wrestlers, ones that are just pure wrestling, mat wrestlers, to see Finn Bálor and Timothy Thatcher, that's a good match. Is it going to appeal? Well, it's early in it's the first match of the night. I don't know what kind of a tone that really gives out, but it's not. It's definitely, NXT trying to just break the norm of being, we need some high flyers and flippity flop, right? We don't want to do that. And that's what he didn't do here. You go to Damian Priest, taking on Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, Velveteen Dream, NXT North American Championship, vacated by Keith Lee, ladder match. Now, I remember when they did the inaugural match, and I'll tell you, they do another ladder match again. It will never compare to that first North American match, which Velveteen Dream was in, by the way. And I believe Johnny Gargano was in that as well. So, actually, here was what it was. The original match was TakeOver New Orleans, April 2018, and that was Adam Cole beating EC3, Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Ricochet, and Velveteen Dream. That was an amazing ladder match. I loved it. That was a great match. Adam Cole put himself on the map there for NXT more than anything else. But that's what it came down to. Now, what's interesting as well, I don't know if you did this as well, that Damian Priest is the oldest holder of the NXT North American Championship. He's 38. I didn't realize he was already that much in age. Nothing against, he's in his prime now, but again, to already be in his late 30s here after all this time, because Damian Priest has kind of been positioned as a younger star, up and coming, rising star kind of feel, right? Regardless of what we've seen him do in Ring of Honor as Punishment Martinez, which I will always refer to. But Bronson Reed, there's a lot more to be said about him. To see another heavy in there coming up to the main roster, there's a lot more build that need to do with him. He just looks a little bit generic, big heavyweight wrestler. Cameron Grimes, just to put a hat on Trevor Lee, doesn't make sense. Johnny Gargano's run, I feel like he is only effective if he has Tommaso Ciampa to work off of. And that's sometimes it just happens. There's just certain guys, they just work with the right people and they just click. And that's what I feel with right here. With Gargano, I haven't felt like I've got much of anything else in his run as a heel, especially, except for his work with Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know. There's just something not there. And just to get thrown into this match. And then honestly, if Velveteen Dream was actually wrestling in front of a live crowd, I can imagine he would get the brunt of some really treacherous chants. And I was actually thinking about that. What kind of chants could have been generated organically by the live crowd in these last 5 months that would have stuck out? I think one would be "You're a pedo" to Velveteen Dream, just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that or not. Anyways, this match, Damian Priest is down the NXT North American champion. He's out with Brandy Lorena in the hot tub, and I forget who the other girl is. Interesting way to finish up. And again, Damian Priest, they haven't done enough for me to really build up any kind of interest in this new character. I mean, obviously the size, the agility, he's good, but he needs a character. And the Damian Priest character, the Archer of Infamy, okay, you got a catchphrase and you got an entrance. Otherwise, what else you got? You really can't do the nightclub thing right now. It's kind of like Pandemic kind of just shoots that down. But, like ladies' man, playboy kind of thing, I don't think it works for him. And you can't do like you can't really do anything like this very gothic or very like, which really would have been something like that for him, but he doesn't fit the part. Like it just, I don't know what you do with Damian Priest. He's just in a spot right now. So there's that. Now I will say this. I haven't said anything at all about Pat McAfee. So I know about Pat McAfee, 9-year veteran in the NFL, has a Super Bowl ring, Pro Bowl ring. He was playing, alongside of Andrew Luck in the Indianapolis Colts which one of the few stars that never had to leave a team. He played consistently with the same team, 2009 and 2017. And then since then, the guy has gift of gab. So, and he's moved around. He started at Barstool for a short time, then to Fox, then to ESPN. So he's been all over the place. Like, it's really amazing the kind of jumping around he's done. And then having this stint right here where he does his radio show and with Westwood One. And then he also has this thing with doing the WWE stuff. And yeah, it was very nonchalant how it was either Corey Graves or Vic Joseph. I think Corey Graves was the one that made mention how Baron Corbin, originally on the name Tom Pistock, actually, they knew each other from Indianapolis Colts training camp. I think it was I forget what year it was. But there was a year that Corbin and McAfee bunked at training camp. That's obviously how those guys got put together. McAfee is relatively young. He's also in his early 30s, much like Baron Corbin. And it's amazing how these guys, and I don't give enough credit to Baron Corbin. I really don't. Because he is adapted to wrestling really well. I like his wrestling. I just think he has a horrible gimmick. The King gimmick needs to go away. And I feel like Pat McAfee, you could put him along with Baron Corbin, and I think those two together would really make something special. I mean, we don't need Pat McAfee right away to go ahead and be like full roster. Had a hell of a match with Adam Cole tonight. He really did good. It's as if Pat McAfee's been around for a while. He definitely trained, and he's picked up wrestling much like Baron Corbin did, which is really amazing. Because Pat McAfee, he did a lot of good moves tonight. He sold really well. He didn't look like he was lost out there. He looked like he was pretty comfortable. And Adam Cole, I could tell those guys were having a good time together. They were really working well. And I think Adam Cole and him, they just, I don't know, it must be just something they just decided, let's just do something together. Let's just collaborate. And they did. What you could tell is what NXT does. There are certain stars that you can just tell that, like, I feel like Triple H kind of just takes the training wheels off of some of the stars that he has that are veterans. And he says, you know what? Do what you got to do. You can imagine Shawn Michaels in there also as well. They're just lingering back and input into what they're doing. Nothing more. And I'm going to talk about that when it comes to Karrion Kross in a second, because it really feels like that. NXT feels like a relaxed atmosphere, which is good. But they do struggle with some of their stars to get something out of them. And that's what I think comes down to this, which is why when I look at the match with Io Shirai and Dakota Kai, the NXT Women's title, I can't get into Dakota Kai at all. I can't get into her as a heel. I can't get into her as a face. She's not a bad wrestler. But again, you have stars here that are talented, but maybe they're only meant to be, really great wrestlers in other organizations in the indie circuit. And I just feel like maybe they're just being brought up here with the opportunity to be something more, global exposure you're getting right now. And I think with Dakota Kai, I think she would probably thrive doing something else, just, as a journeyman, just working the indies around the world, going back to, back to Australia or the UK or North America, whatever. I just feel like there's something there. But I haven't gotten anything from her, even with the whole deal of how she turned with Tegan Knox. Yeah, but I never got anything more from that. I just don't get her. And Io Shirai is good. She's very good. Again, I think Triple H has hit on a couple of times. Whoever it was that was recruiting stars from Japan, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Shirai. I don't know if anything. Again, these are all stars that came from other organizations. I don't know if they came from Shimmer or wherever. But again, to bring some of these stars over, and they've all done very well. All the Japanese stars, I think Asuka, they've done, they did stumble with Asuka. They gave her a great start in NXT. We know that. And that's really what built her up. And I think she is a standout now. And I think that what Heyman did to turn her around as a heel and to kind of go with this, the Great Muta reincarnated gimmick, yeah, that works. I mean, people are digging it. There's an appeal to her now that she didn't have before. So they did create a gimmick out of her. They've kind of just reincorporated Great Muta from 30 years ago. Go for it. And it works. It works for her. She's doing it very well. So there's that. And then Kairi Sane kind of playing on the same vein, just trying to kind of just keep her there. And then Kairi Sane moving along. I mean, she still did very well. Her NXT run was very good. I liked her. She was not used well on the main roster. Like the Puta Kabuki Warriors together, that kind of sucked. I never liked it. And you could just tell that Asuka was the one that was given the focus more than anything else. And Asuka's giving all the focus right now, going after both Raw and SmackDown women's titles at SummerSlam. So, for me, Io Shirai fits in the same realm. They have definitely given her some fun. I liked when she turned heel. I just like the character. There's a lot of intensity to her. It's going to be the same thing with Asuka. Just like they had with Asuka, if they ever move her up, she's going to be a struggle. And I don't know what you do. But again, they did re-sign her. They have committed to her. So they got to find what they're going to do to really give her something individuality, something that's unique about her that will make her stand out. Because there's no standout between her and Asuka at the moment. I don't feel there's enough. It'll be another Japanese wrestler, and we can't have that. It just has to be something more. And I really want a lot for her. Raquel González and the standoff with Rhea Ripley was good. Raquel González, we just have to see what they're going to do with her. But and so that with Raquel González, we've seen her around since Mae Young Classic going forward. And here we are. And, she'll be well. She'll do well. And definitely, the background, second-generation wrestler, there's a lot to her. And let's see what they can do with because Rhea Ripley is already established, and people already have an appeal to her to the main roster for a little bit because of what she did with Charlotte Flair. So there's a little bit of a rub right there. Now, what happens next is the question. Okay. The real focus is Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. Now, this NXT title match was very good. Keith Lee, I put a couple things out here on Twitter to talk about a few things here with what happened on the program. Okay, when it goes back to this past Wednesday on NXT, to now, I've said a few things. So the video leading up to their match was great. It was so different from anything else that NXT or WWE does. And I have to truly believe that Karrion Kross is playing the biggest part of all the videos. We already know that he had people doing editing and he was recording, shooting, filming, and editing videos of his own when he was a free agent and being looked at. And I have to believe that the production, the way it was put up, the mood, the theme, the style, it's nothing that WWE does. All you're seeing is a couple things that were probably added as B-roll that come from WWE. But I almost feel like he is absolutely doing it on his own. Karrion Kross has creative control. Triple H allows that. Now, I said this on Twitter yesterday. Quote, Karrion Kross is fulfilling his WWE destiny on his own terms. The video feels like what he was producing on his own, and he has full creative control with limited input from Triple H and the NXT crew. The key for Kross is to never relent this control once he gets called up. That's what it is. And then tonight, as he finishes up, my comments after this match, plain and simple, is after Kevin Castro talked about a guy who looks like a wrestler beat another guy who looks like a wrestler for a major title. Actual men are making a comeback in pro wrestling. Feels like 2002 again. And then I said, Kross has got the it factor. Kross and Lee should both have their tickets stamped and bags packed for the main roster if WWE knows what is good for them. They did such a damn good job allowing Karrion Kross, with the input that was offered by the company, collectively, this character has been brought to a real special level. I haven't seen a lot of wrestlers that really just pop out on the screen on WWE television. Karrion Kross and Scarlett absolutely do. I mean, do I want to say that it gives me almost like a Undertaker kind of vibe? Yes. You want to tell me I'm wrong? Yeah, go right ahead. Please, feel free to vent if you think I'm wrong. But I get that part right there. I feel like it surpasses what I used to think about Finn Bálor coming out as a demon, which was a great entrance. We don't see it anymore. When I saw, I don't know who else gives me that kind of vibe, but again, to have this sinister kind of vibe with Karrion Kross, he's totally the gimmick. And you can just tell this guy has a lot of forethought into his character. He cares. He puts everything into that character. He lives it. And I feel like both these two, again, Kross and Scarlett just fit well. And Scarlett, she adds to the mix. And you know what? I got to give her a lot of credit because she's willing to go ahead and let Kross take that spot because she's playing the valet and the muse very well. But they come together as a pair. There's no question there. Like, you cannot, I don't believe Scarlett goes away and Karrion Kross could be alone. You could, but I don't think it works. This package right now, as to what Karrion Kross is, it's that it factor. Against it was what a Jim Ross would say. He's got it. And he does. I haven't felt this kind of conviction over a wrestler in a long time from this company. It's been a while. And I just feel like, when you decide to say, okay, Karrion Kross is going to take on this wrestler, you're like, well, really, it doesn't matter who it is you put him up against. It's a matter of, well, who is Karrion Kross going to kill tonight? They booked him as good as it gets. The way they booked the match, because I was really nervous if they were going to let him take a loss. I think just to do that to him would have shattered the gimmick pretty quickly. But, there's a yin and a yang to this. With WWE so far, the Karrion Kross character, the transition from Killer Kross from Karrion Kross, to adapt Killer Kross from Karrion Kross, to adapt Killer Kross from Karrion Kross. And the reason why is because of the addition of Scarlett. It just is. Killer Kross, in Impact Wrestling and before in AAA, amazing. And the other thing too that's amazing? Fucking Disco Inferno trained him. Isn't that amazing? Again, Killer Kross he's doing such a damn good job. I like the gimmick. I like the name. I like all that they've done so far. Killer Kross has been solid. Now, only seen him since April. Like, this is the one thing I got to say, too, more than anything else, is that Karrion Kross is the one true star that has been made in 2020, even during a pandemic. Nothing's stopping the rise of this star. Nothing is stopping it. Without a crowd, he's excelling. And I'm amazed. In front of a live crowd, this would have gone over crazy. But he has benefited from here. He's benefited with what's happened here. It's been done very well. He hasn't had a whole lot of matches on TV. They definitely made sure that him going up against Tommaso Ciampa and making quick work of Tommaso Ciampa at NXT TakeOver In Your House, it definitely stood out. People took notice and are like, okay, they're booking this guy the way they should be. And it worked. And I was really impressed how he's been booked so far. It's been booked very well. And a quick rise. I think Triple H just sees absolute potential here. And it's not potential in terms of ability. He has it. He's already ready. The finishing of the gimmick to where he's going to just be... The Karrion Kross gimmick is destined to go to the main roster. It's just a matter of when. But again, it's... his move to WWE has succeeded already. I was very skeptical, but it has worked. And it's because I feel like he still has full control of his character. He has the support of Scarlett Bordeaux. He just does. Everything right now fits. It's like he's got support with him right there. Keith Lee does the same thing with Mia Yim. They got support from each other. They have support from within in the organization. I'm going to talk about Keith Lee, but again, we just want to hold on to him for a second. We'll get back to Karrion. He can't fuck up Karrion Kross. I feel like he can't fuck up Karrion Kross. I feel like this is a character, this is a gimmick you can't screw up. Because if you do, it will be the biggest failure that's ever been made in this company. And then he will go somewhere else and he will excel because you will have created a gimmick for him that will make him main event. Because God forbid you sign this guy to a contract and then you say, okay, God forbid AEW picks him up after this is all done and rolls with the character. Wow. You don't want this. You want to make sure that Karrion Kross stands out and he wins and becomes something really good because it's going to be good. I mean, he fits for this company more than anything else. I mean, Kross is a professional. And I also starting to feel like, even from his past work in other organizations, he wanted to get to this level. He wanted to work for this organization. Because, for him, he wants to be under the guise of this company and what they're able to offer. The resources, the treatment of the wrestlers in terms of there's certain things he didn't want to have to do, like blade jobs, where that's not like a real safe environment because of the lack of resources like an Impact Wrestling might have, which is why there was a lot of issues with that, because with Karrion Kross, they really wanted to keep him more as a hardcore wrestler, which was a mistake. And also to keep him as a valet, right? To make him a bit of a valet was also not the right thing to do with him as well. I don't think they need to keep him like that, especially when he was there with Austin Aries. I think there was a miss on Impact Wrestling's part. But again, they were just trying to figure themselves out. They didn't know what to do with him. They just didn't. And so that's okay. I think because of the kind of the evil realm kind of character they have with Rosemary and Havoc and the whole setup with Father James Mitchell, like that was the women's side. So like, they have a guy doing that really doesn't fit so much. So they didn't really look at having a character like that in Impact, and they just used him wrong. I feel like he's being used absolutely right in WWE. If AEW ever got him after WWE would potentially fail him, would be a gift. Because WWE has done what they need to do to make sure this guy has lasting power, and that no matter what, he's a star. He is very good in the ring. He's got great visuals, and the whole setup. It's like there's an intensity to him. There's a feel to it. It's not a Bruiser Brody. It's not a Kamala type thing. It's just not like it's not like you're just like. But there's visuals to him that really just stand out. And the way they just position him, like it's a cool factor that some of NXT doesn't have. Now, when NXT had their ratings come out, they're still pulling in, even with the bigger audience, still an older audience. It's the establishment of the audience. They're not picking up new fans. I think Karrion Kross could appeal to younger fans. I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, again, there is something to be said. There's a bit of a disconnect because, you have your theme song for NXT TakeOver, and it's Metallica coming back for, they've been around for 30 plus years. And we're here. This is a band that was predominantly super popular, epic, super band, super group from the 90s. And they're back with another album that's definitely going to probably sell to their very devoted fan base. But that's an older fan base. Like, we're not going for Metallica fans. And, you can put Poppy out there and whatever other artist you want, and that's fine. But again, the rock, metal kind of feel, that's a niche audience. That's not the appeal here. And again, it's the appeal of finding stars that really stand out from an influencer standpoint, which I talked about on Wednesday, that will really stand out for all the stars here. I just don't see it right now. I just don't. But that's not taking anything here. Now, with Keith Lee, he's really good. There's no question about that. I mean, I think that he was going to be destined to be good wherever, and he basically just kept the same gimmick from Ring of Honor. To remove him away from Shane Taylor and to stand out, I really feel like Keith Lee is a standout over Shane Taylor. Nothing against Shane Taylor. But I already knew that Keith Lee, when he was in the tag team with him, there was a standout to him. Like, he gives me the vibes of Alpha Male Monty Brown, which I love that wrestler, right? But I think the one thing that will be a detriment to Keith Lee, he's a big guy. And again, if he's not kind of jiggling around a little bit, like, the guy is a big, massive, he's a mastodon. Like, he's all big bone. Like, he's a big boy. But I think Vince is going to see that he's got a gut. He's got to fix it. It's going to be like how Samoa Joe was. I just feel like if the guy's not in like cut shape, if Keithy does not look like he just came out of the gym and he's holding like an 8-pack, he's going to get looked at the wrong way because he's got to have like the builder's body, and he doesn't. He looks like a big wrestler, which is good. He's a super heavyweight, but you know, for him, it's wrong. But Triple H, for his credit, has done a lot of good. And listen, I don't want to say anything to discourage anyone about the fact of how Keith Lee in your house had both the NXT North America title and the NXT Championship, and it was right around the time of where Black Lives Matter was at a fever pitch, right after George Floyd. I don't want to say anything about that. But the thing is that Keith Lee could have held the belt longer, but the thing was, if you're going to put Karrion Kross into the picture, Karrion Kross has to win. Probably not good for Keith Lee. But again, this company cannot help themselves but really ramp up feuds and hurry up storylines that they should take more time on. But they made a quick run to move everything forward and to have Karrion Kross run to the roster, escalate to the main title on NXT. They did it in very quick fashion. Again, he's only been around since April. Roughly 4 months from his debut, and he's already won the title. That tells you everything. That NXT is a short time for him. As for Keith Lee, we already know that he had his run-in with Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of matches you could do with him. And obviously, when they brought him up to the main roster during Survivor Series, he stood out. And many wrestling podcasters like myself, they see a lot of upside in Keith Lee. And yeah, let's get him up there already. He cuts good promos. It's very good in the ring. To see another big guy like that heading into the ring, another super heavyweight. I mean, he's likable. He's smooth. He's got the right character. Like, it's just, like I said, Ring of Honor could have held on to him, and I think that would have made him a big star. But again, he was too small. He was too big for Ring of Honor. And Keith Lee fits, man. They're both ready for main roster now. You could book them tomorrow. Now, this will be a bit of a bold statement, but you can take it as you want. I would have preferred either Karrion Kross or Keith Lee. I would have preferred them on the main roster before Matt Riddle. I just don't know where Matt Riddle fits. It's not as if I don't think Matt Riddle is good. I don't feel like he fits in. That's the problem. They brought him up from NXT. They said, well, we've had him here. People really like him on the main roster down in NXT, or they like him on the NXT roster. Okay, he's got everything that we need. He's ready to go. Call him up. And quick enough, you made him lose to AJ Styles. Why? As quick as he gets up there, as quick as he loses. The momentum is shot. Matt Riddle is not even a factor right now going into the pay-per-view SummerSlam tomorrow. As I record, where is he? Right? To leave him out, I mean, I don't get what they're doing with him. And so I would have preferred if Keith Lee would have made the way up, or Karrion Kross. Well, Karrion Kross, you can let him run roughshod, I guess. I don't know who becomes the next opponent for him. I guess Keith Lee would get a rematch, but all right. But again, Karrion Kross, unless you have a real long title run and just like run through the gamut and then retire the belt and go to the main roster, I guess you could do that. But with Karrion Kross, it's like, it's very important that you keep him winning. And there's only going to be somebody really special that you need to get that win over Karrion Kross after a long run of wins, where he doesn't lose the NXT belt, makes it to the main roster, might win a mid-card title right away, And then again, he might lose that belt after a long run of undefeated streak. That's what you got to do with him. I just don't know where you go. But Karrion Kross, there's a whole lot there. There just is. Now, I don't know who you put him up against, but there's a lot of matchups I'd like to see. I'd like to see Karrion Kross and Bray Wyatt. I'd like to see Karrion Kross and Randy Orton. There's a few others, I would imagine. But again, that's just right off the bat. He's got the it factor. He's the next big thing in this company. Whether you believe me or not, Karrion Kross is the next big thing. I do not take this lightly when I put out like this. I don't do the greatest of all time talk. I don't, position who was better on the Attitude Era and this and that. I don't do that. Want to look at stars. Karrion Kross. Bonafide. Main eventer. He's a main eventer in wrestling, period. It's a matter of how WWE treats him, how they use him. He's going to get used right at NXT, but then there's going to be a short window where he's going to have to go to that main roster. I mean, do you wait around for Vince to kind of like step down to finally do it? Because I don't know what you do. I don't want Vince to have any kind of stranglehold on this character. I don't want Vince's grubby hands on Karrion Kross. And that's where I'm stuck at. That's where I'm torn. I don't want him to go to the main roster to get screwed up by Vince McMahon, but I know he has to be there. He just has to. That's all there is to it. All right, let's move on to AEW Dynamite. I want to go and wrap this up real quick and talk about that. Man, I didn't realize it was going to go so long with this. I thought it was going to be a 30-minute show in and out, but okay. I know we're going to do this tomorrow, but I want to at least get something out about AEW. A couple of things going up leading up to All Out. There's going to be All In, September 5th. So it is All Out. There we go. So, a handful of things happened tonight. Very good stuff. I like seeing FTR being managed by Tully Blanchard. I just want to see Tully Blanchard come out with something here and really stand out. But again, for FTR, just to see certain stars where AEW does the right thing of bringing managers on for certain people. Taz being accompanied with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, love it. Tully Blanchard coming out with FTR, more than I would care about for Shawn Spears, yes. And then, man, I'll tell you what. The MJF promo tonight with the lawyer, whoever that lawyer is, Mark Sterling, was kick-ass.
Genghis Khan. Castro. Genghis Khan. Castro. Genghis Khan. Castro. John. Castro. Guess you're too afraid of me to try me from the front. Last week, John, you attacked me from behind like a gutless coward. Guess you're too afraid of me to try me from the front. John, I suppose you don't realize that your unwarranted actions have consequences. Look at me, John. Look at the state of me. Someday, I want to have a family, John, with kids. I'd like to play with those kids. Papa, can we play a game of catch? No, son, we can't, because Daddy's mangled. And that's all on you, John. The paradigm shift isn't a move, John. It's an abomination! God, Wardlow!
Mr. Friedman really wanted to do this all on his own, but I'm going to have to continue. We have very important business to conduct here today. I'm his attorney, Mark Sterling. The first thing we want to do is put on record that we believe the paradigm shift, also known as the double arm DDT, is a dangerous move. And according to a few health professionals that I talked to last week, possibly deadly. I mean, that particular move almost ended this man's career last week, and the jury's still out. We have no idea. It could have. And if Jon Moxley can come out and just end anyone's career all willy-nilly whenever he wants, who's next? Wardlow? Gum Guy? Nina and her beautiful smile? No. Think about your loved ones. And that's why last week we put a petition up online calling for the banning of the paradigm shift, also known as the double arm DDT. And wouldn't you know it? 5 million signatures. 5 million people that care about the future of this business. So myself and my law firm, we spent all week and we drew up this contract. Now this contract right here specifically states that the paradigm shift is banned from the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match at All Out between MJF and Jon Moxley. And all Jon has to do is sign it. And why wouldn't he sign it? He's a man of the people. He's a fighting champion. He's a badass. Why would a badass need one little move to beat one guy? And frankly, if he doesn't sign it, Jon, I'll sue your ass so hard you'll have to part your hair to poop. Don't test me. Don't test my law firm. We've never lost, and I'm not starting now. We'll take your money. We'll take your house. We'll take your cars. And then when you have nothing, Max will take your title. Sign it, Jon.
Sign it.
I'll fax it over. The ball's in your court.
Sign it, Jon.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Promo of the fucking year. I mean, there's probably more to come with him. I'm just saying, that was 3 minutes of bliss. I was over the moon when I watched that promo live. Because then I caught TakeOver after. I quickly got on the network and I just caught where I went ahead and picked off right after Dynamite, caught it, and then I caught the first part of TakeOver after that. Just saying. MJF is another it factor. I am all in on MJF. This is an amazing character. And, you know, when I think about how he was in MLW, just as a raw character, and all he had was Arya Blake? Oh, and then first it was just Arya Blake. And then the Dynasty, which, by the way, was a very good group, the Dynasty, with Richard Holiday and Alexander Hammerstone. I really enjoyed it. And MJF did a damn good job in that thing. Court Bauer really did help out on that character. Did a good job of getting him somewhere. But MJF, honestly, I think AEW has brought him to another level. Because now he definitely has the plaid, and that's the standard. That is his signature look. They got that there. They gave him the diamond, the ring. And I'm telling you, whoever the lawyer was really good. I'm telling you, Dictator John, the build-up for Jon Moxley to MJF. And by the way, Jon Moxley, very good promo leading up to this as well. A lot of respect to MJF, saying this is a guy that's going to be main event for takes 25 years because MJ said it himself, and he agrees. But again, he wants to beat the shit out of him. This match is I'm so all in for it, man. I am so amped for that match. This guy, he's 23 years old. This is a child prodigy. It's like that. But again, he's so young. Do you understand how many years we could have of him and this gift of gab? I mean, I can imagine that MJF could go ahead and just be like a damn wrestler for again, he could go for 20 years. He could stop and then become almost like a James J. Dillon type and just be a manager and run like a stable. The guy could be like Bobby Heenan for all I care. I wouldn't be surprised. He is so damn good. Now, one thing I got to say about this more than anything else is that I need to see Wardlow stand out from the pack. Because if MJF is getting all this attention, Wardlow's got to get something out of this. But again, that's one thing they have with some of the bigger stars. They have trouble getting some of the bigger stars together and up. And I think it's also because of the focus they have on certain stars. I'm not into Luchasaurus that much. I think he's still a bit green. Great look, great character, but he's just not all the way there yet. You could just tell he's still not smooth out there, but he's gotten really good. He's gotten better since he came in. Brian Cage sits at a really good spot, and I like him with Taz. I think Taz does a tremendous job as a manager. He's a natural. He just fits good, sounds good, the whole thing. And he's actually been pretty good on announcing as well when he's not doing he's working off of bad content like an Impact or TNA or in some cases some of the WWE stuff he had to do. He's fitting good, really good right now. And again, I already told you, I praise the fact that Nyla Rose is working with Vicky Guerrero. I think that's great. And I also just like that some of these characters, some of these stars with the family members, you see Vicky working together, and now her daughter's out there was doing the announcing for the Women's Tag Team Tournament Cup, which, wasn't so much about Brandy Rose being in the match, but oh well. Diamante Valise fitting that role, that's cool. Again, they don't need tag team titles, but to give them a tournament like this was cool to see some new stars brought into the mix. I think that the women's division needs some shakeup. There are a number of stars that they have. And the thing is, you can already tell the AEW is not relying so much within their own main roster for women's talent. They've brought in Thunder Rosa now. That's going to be challenging Hikaru Shida for the AEW women's title, which that's a big damn deal. Thunder Rosa's great. If you haven't seen her in NWA yet, she's awesome. So that'll work really well. Having those two together, quickly put a match together on that. Again, Britt Baker's great. And having her with Reba, or Rebel, as we remember, in TNA, fits really good. I like the character a lot. I like the whole setup a lot right now. Having this with Big Swole is actually a really interesting setup. So I like that. But again, the women's divisions, they're lacking a bit. I mean, Penelope Ford's nice, and she works well, but she's not not so much of a standout yet. Her and Kip Sabian, you can just tell there's a lot left to be desired for both. When I look at the rest of the women's division, there's a lot more to that. Anna Jay, I like the role of her in the Dark Order, including her. I think Dark Order actually fit really good in this role. And I'll tell you what, besides seeing what they did with MJF and John Moxley lead up, okay, the Mimosa Mayhem match, this is hilarious. The rubber match for Jericho and Cassidy, they're going to put orange juice and the bit of the bubbly into a vat. So you either win by pinfall submission or throwing your opponent into the vat. Somebody's going into that vat. Just think that's or somebody's going to go into the vat, period. Hell of a job. I really enjoyed the little bit of the bubbly, and I just think this match is just good creative, man. I mean, it's a goofy-ass match, but I do enjoy it. And you know what? Again, Orange Cassidy is being built into a star. I mean, people give a shit, and people really cared about that because I'll tell you what, most watched AEW video last week was, almost 700,000 views for Orange Cassidy defeating Chris Jericho in an upset. So Dark Order, now we got 3, 4, and 5. We're getting a little bit more organization, a little bit more straightening out of what the Dark Order is because they haven't had too much time out there. Darby Allin coming out dressed like, or Ricky Starks coming out as Darby Allin. That's a quick little match to go of. Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Jesus. I don't know why Inner Circle was not out there in the first place with Matt Hardy, but for whatever reason, they got what they did with him. And yeah, I think Sammy Guevara will probably get the win on Matt Hardy coming up at All Out. Or All In. Or All Out. Whatever. All Out. Now, what I was surprised by, and everybody was, but it wasn't bad at all. So Cody holding on to the belt, he's beating a lot of people. Some stars we didn't know, like Warhorse or Eddie Kingston. I don't remember Warhorse. And then, Scorpio Sky taking a shot. And Scorpio Sky in a good match, but he loses. And Brody Lee is the one to win in quick and very dominating fashion over Cody. That was impressive. I loved it. Really good stuff. So Brody Lee now holds the belt. Complete beat down of the Nightmare Collective, the Nightmare family, and Dark Order just leaning over. Anna Jay putting her lock onto Brandy Rhodes. I thought all of that was great. What a way to finish the night. Dynamite was very good. So people hopefully will get a chance to watch it. But again, TakeOver will be the focus because of what they had set up. But I'm telling you what, I mean, if some people decided, hey, you know, you caught the end of you caught the last like 10 minutes of Io Shirai and Dakota Kai, and you caught all of the NXT title match with Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, I would have been fine with that. I think the only match I really was interested in seeing after that that I missed was the Pat McAfee Adam Cole match because I had a curiosity to it. But overall, hey, NXT TakeOver was a good show tonight. I still think there's a lot of things left to leave in, but I always evaluate NXT by what they're going to be doing with the main roster. And the truth is, they have so many stars that are in NXT that just don't get pushed up. They're focusing on only so many. Undisputed Era are an afterthought right now. Donovan Dijakovic is somewhat that way too, I feel like. Tommaso Ciampa's coming back this week, which is good. But again, I just feel like they have a very bloated roster, and there's not much for them to do right now, especially when none of those others can't wrestle. They're wrestling within each other, and they're not wrestling in front of a crowd. So with NXT, there's a struggle as to who could be elevated because of the pandemic, because there's no test of what the crowd's going to say. But again, what is there anyway? Now, I want to make some quick comments about the Thunderdome and SmackDown. The Thunderdome, it's nice to see them back in a bigger arena. Sure. I don't care for the pipe noise. I don't feel so off about the crowd and the Zoom cameras so much. It's okay. I think it's kind of funny where John Moxley, in an interview with the Wrestling Observer, referred to it looking like Fahrenheit 451. It kind of has like this whole like Running Man kind of look to it. It just very dystopian, very modern, futuristic, which I think that actually works for WWE, and I think that's not a bad thing for them to do. I think the Thunderdome actually was them doing a little bit of that. Now they talked about having drones out there, but I didn't see any drones. Did you? I think with them that the Thunderdome was a good thought. I think the way they have it set up, the way it looks, really looks great. So I don't have a problem with the aesthetics of it. But again, the way they have the matches and all, what they're doing right now is not so much. I don't want to say too much about SmackDown. I mean, I did, Jeff Hardy winning the IC title. Okay. I don't know what that'll mean, but again, to take the belt off of AJ Styles, what does AJ Styles do next? I don't know. Like, does he take time off? Does somebody else take a spot with Jeff Hardy? I don't know. And then Jeff Hardy having his matches with Sheamus and getting beat down, and Sheamus winning the feud, and then all of a sudden, Jeff Hardy fails forward and wins the IC title. I just don't get that part either. But nevertheless, there's no logic in this company right now on that main roster at all. And as for Braun Strowman, the double turn with Bray Wyatt, fine. Maybe Bray Wyatt as a face would probably be better off. They did mention Alexa Bliss quite a bit throughout all these vignettes and all that they've been doing to build up. But again, I want to see where she comes into play when that match comes up for SummerSlam. That's what we don't know. We're not sure where that's going to be. But again, it'll be interesting if Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt become like part of the same package and how they use her. That'll be interesting. Which means that, whatever blow-off they had with her and Nikki Cross is going to be a non-factor. Nikki Cross will be a non-factor because of how they had her attached to Alexa Bliss for all this time. And there's not going to be anything with her right now. So, anyway, we'll leave it there. Man, I went an hour. Jesus. It's getting easier to do this, man. I can just run an hour, no problem now. So there you go. Come back tomorrow as we will cover SummerSlam. You won't see it coming. Damn it. We'll talk about that tomorrow. That all leads up. And we'll leave it there. Come back tomorrow for another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast, brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. For more information on how to subscribe to the show, how to share the Wrestling is Real podcast to listeners like you, and check out the latest wrestling headlines, go to WrestlingIsReal.com. That's WrestlingIsReal.com.